Previously on Fly with the Guy.
Take your juice. I don't care what kind of juice it is. Take your juice and splash.
Rock the boat, we're at the middle. Why did I say, hey, this is a poster. This is not even a person. All the exterior doors are locked before we go to bed. Because does no one care about their health? And she is under the impression that I'm a DJ in Virginia and that I could potentially DJ for her daughter's wedding. I picked up a shift at my part almost don't even exist job. And I will see you all when it's time for us to leave for a 19-day trip. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. I'm Brandon, I'm a guy who flies, international flight attendant for a European carrier. In real time, I am on day 2 of a 19-day trip, currently on a layover in Milan, yes. I owe you all a video. At some point during Vlogmas, I will share with you all another like what we made versus what we spent. Today I'm pulling back the curtain and giving you another paid transparency video. I did one earlier in the summer, so if you have not seen that one, go back and watch that one because I explained a lot of things that I won't be explaining in this video. I'm going to give you all something you're curious about, how much I actually made versus how much I spent on that 15-day charter trip that we worked earlier this month. This is going to be a breakdown of my income, my expenses, and everything in between. So let's dive into it. For some context, my airline operates both charter flying and commercial flying. I am currently only working charter trips at this point. So this was a 15-day charter trip with my airline, 5 international layovers, cities such as Milan, Mombasa, Kenya, Salalah, Oman. So I worked a series of long-haul flights, and there were also a bunch of deadheads included as well. Deadheads being flights that the company puts us on when they need to reposition us in the beginning, the middle, or the end of a trip. We don't operate the flights, but we are paid to fly as passengers. First, let's talk about my income. So as a flight attendant, there's a lot of components that factor into our pay, but for the sake of today's video, I'm gonna keep it very simple, and I'm just gonna mention 3. First one is our hourly pay. So this is gonna be the base rate that we make per hour of flights flown. Included in that is deadheads, because at my company, we do get full pay for deadheads, so even if we don't work the flight, we still get full pay as if we did. So I'm gonna include that in our base pay. The second thing we have is our per diem. This is gonna be monies that are paid for us for all time away from base. So from day 1, when I checked in for this trip on November 28th, which was Thanksgiving, the clock was continuously running until they got me back to my base on December 12th. Lastly, we have pay overrides, which in this particular charter trip, I didn't have a lot of pay overrides. So the few that I did have, I'm just going to include them in the hourly rate because they're paid at my hourly rate. One common misconception with international flying is that you make a lot of money. So a lot of people hear, oh, it was a 15-day trip, you make so much. But the reality is that sometimes charter flights, while they can be long and you can make some decent hourly money, you spend most of your trip on layovers. When you start to break down, you in your mind, you're like,
oh, I'm getting paid for 15 days.
I wasn't working for 15 days, let's be honest. For the 15-day trip that I worked, we only did 10 flights. 6 of those flights we actually operated, and 4 of them were deadheads. Flights that we operated plus the flights that we deadheaded in, that was a total of 52 hours block time. When I add in the pay overrides, it makes the credit for the entire trip 60 hours. 60 hours times my base pay of $38.91 means that the base pay total was $2,334.60. But I did work on a holiday, so we gotta add in the holiday pay because I worked on Thanksgiving. So that brings it up to $24,009.60. Then I also told you we're gonna look at per diem, and that was a total of 330 hours and 20 cents of time away from base. Our current per diem rate is $3.75 per hour times the 330 hours. It's $1,238.65. give or take. So our total amount made on this trip, credit, block, overrides, per diem, holiday pay, was $3,648.25. If I was to just break it down and take what I made and divide it by 15 days, I made about $243.22 per day. Not bad, not great, but also pretty decent. So I can say I made a decent amount. But now let's look at the other side of the coin. Let's break down my expenses. Being away from home for 15 days comes at a cost. And y'all know I be out here. dollar bills, y'all. Cash rules everything around me. Cream gets the money. I be out here spending like it's unlimited. And I really shouldn't. I broke it down into 4 categories. Well, technically 5, but I'll explain. So the first category was the meals. Then I separated out bar because you all know I like to have a good time. At some points, I was just strictly swiping because I was drinking. The meal total is kind of inflated as well because a lot of times at dinner, I would, have a glass of wine or 3. Then the other part was transportation, trains, taxis, Ubers, shuttles. I also paid to upgrade my seat on some of my desks. The company bought the tickets, but if I didn't like where I was sitting at or the flight was long enough, I paid to upgrade myself to either premium economy or business. And then recreation, so having fun on my layovers. And lastly was just shopping. Shopping and miscellaneous spending because we just pull out the card and swipe. So here's where my money went. On meals, I spent $351.35 on food. I tried my hardest to take advantage of all meals that were provided. So in some of our locations, breakfast was included or all inclusive. So breakfast, lunch, and the dinner buffet were all included. So I tried to take advantage of those, but I also couldn't resist splurging on some local cuisines in certain places like Milan. Now the bar tab, some of that $351 from the meals included alcohol, but from what I know was strictly bar tab, $158.41. 15 days, that's like $15 a day. Wait, what am I talking about? That's like $10 a day. Math, come on, I can do this. That's less than 1 cocktail in the United States. Transportation, $143.75. Getting around in cities such as Milan or Amman, it added up. Sometimes it's inexpensive, other times it's not. Then recreation, I actually did not do much. We only spent $30.26 on what I deemed as recreational fun things that I had to pay for. So yeah, that wasn't a lot. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm like a week out from that trip and I still don't know exactly what I did while I was gone, but I know I did something. And then the last category is shopping. I did some shopping, y'all. Sometimes a little bit too much shopping. Cause when you look at the numbers and you just be like 7, 23, 84. What are you buying? Sir, have some self-control. But over the course of our 15 days, I did spend $174.04. And in that, it also included any tips or things that I left along the way, laundry, snacks, coffee. It's just all in the shopping. So our total spent for the 15 days while we were on the road was $857.34, which again, if you divide it by the 15 days that I was gone, was only $57.17 per day. So I was making like $240 a day and I was spending about $57 a day. So how did I do? Even with my splurges, I walked away with $2,790 in profit. That's one of the great things about this job. While the expenses can add up, the earning potential, especially with per diem, is pretty solid. And just to think that this was just the first week and a half of the month, and I am literally doing it all over again right now. But with that said, I'm also, one of the reasons why I did this is because I want to be very mindful. The goal is always to make more than you spend. Let me speak to myself. Brandon, I need to spend less than I make, and like way less than I make. Some things to consider moving forward. I'm gonna pack smart. This trip, I brought more snacks. I can't necessarily meal prep because going in and out of the countries, it's just very difficult. Certain countries, certain regulations, keeping stuff cold. Like if I'm working on a plane, I can keep my food cold, but like if I'm deadheading, especially on another airline, I can't just be, hey, can you put this whole food bag worth of stuff in your chillers? Drinking, it's never going away. Do we have a problem? We'll address that in another video. So I can be smart about it. So I will, on a layover, purchase a bottle of wine because a bottle of wine is the same thing as like what I spend on one glass. I brought a bottle with me on this trip. You'll see. Small minor tweaks. Set a budget for fun. Enjoying the layover is always the ultimate goal. And I think there is a portion of like, because I'm on YouTube and I like to bring you all along, like we be doing stuff. Like I don't want to just bring y'all on my trips and we just be at the hotel the whole time. There comes a limit with that. And so if you notice, sometimes like if I go hard one day, I tend to like be real chill the next day. I don't use an app or anything, but like in my mind, I'd be like, dang, you spent $150 yesterday. Okay, so you need to chill today. Maybe only spend 30. And then in my mind, I'm like 150 yesterday plus 30 today is 180. But if you divide it by 2, it was only $90 a day. That's the kind of rationale I do, and it might be a little delulu, but it works for me. And then lastly, I have to maximize this per diem. And so I have to stick to affordable meals and pocket the difference. We don't get our per diem in advance, you get it on the back end. So you kind of have to know in the back of your mind, if you take my per diem rate times 24 hours in a day, this is how much per diem I'm getting in a day. The more I get away from the hotel, the less I spend because hotels tax, because that's what hotels do in airports. So eating locally, getting out and going to restaurants and things is always a lot more affordable. So there you have it. A look at my income versus expenses on that 15-day work trip. It truly is a balancing act, but I love how this job allows me to travel the world while still bringing home some sense of a decent paycheck. If you enjoyed this breakdown or have questions about the financial side of being a flight attendant, drop them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new here, join the frequent flyers, and hit that notification bell if you want to be alerted for more behind the scenes content. I'm Brandon, I'm a guy who flies, and I will see you all the next time.